2 warning for Sa, and I apologize. This will be a long one. A little context. My sister and I were raised by parents who didn't need to be parents. Our father was a drug addict and sold them regularly. He was abusive physically and sexually to not only my mother, but us as well. This made for a weird family dynamic where when I left home at 17, I slowly lost contact with them all. I am now 33. Around 5 to 7 years ago I tried to rekindle some sort of relationship with them. I have 4 kids and my husband lost his family rather young, so my children didn't have anyone besides us. I heard my mother and father were trying to do better, and I desperately wanted my children to have grandparents and an aunt and cousins. Years passed, and shockingly enough, it was my father I grew closer to. He admitted to being a shitty person and wanted to do better. And he genuinely was. He was off drugs, had been going to the doctor regularly, had gotten his license back, and had left my mother because he knew she and him were unhealthy together. Now here is where the ball drops hard. In January, I decided to reach out to my sister, now 27, to see how she had been. We never really talk. We may send a TikTok to each other every once in a blue moon. This is when I found out my niece 7 had accused our father and her ex-boyfriend of sexually abusing her back in November. I was obviously shocked and called her, thinking I must be misreading. Because surely, someone would have told me if my father was accused of this months ago. Turns out she and my mother both knew, yet neglected to tell me, knowing I let that man come and stay with me on multiple occasions. As soon as I got home from work, I pulled my children aside one by one and asked if Papa had ever done anything inappropriate. And before anyone asks, yes, I had many conversations over the years about bad touches and who can and cannot touch. Long story short, my 10-year-old daughter bust down into tears and told us everything. I immediately called the police, but because there wasn't any evidence, a warrant was not issued, and we are still trying to get some sort of justice. At first, I was just so focused on getting my daughter safe, healthy, and justice. Nothing else has been on my mind. But in therapy, I've begun to realize the deep resentment I have towards both my mother and sister. Their excuses were they hoped my niece was just confused because the ex-boyfriend must have put that in her head. Yet my sister cut my dad out of her life when he was accused in November. They have apologized, and my therapist said it's really not fair to hold anything against them because they are victims too. But I don't accept that. I told anyone and everyone he may have access to about what he did the very next day. He was not going to hurt another little girl if I could help it. I can't trust either of them ever again. Am I wrong?